with that, it looks like we're going to take a couple questions just real quickly. And I will go ahead. I think there's a few in the Q&A. I'll let Sandra, if you've gone ahead and looked at that, go ahead and let me know. Let us know what some questions are.
Okay, so we have one from Eric saying, after the changes in the SAT test and not being able to do AP classes because there are no nearby schools, where can I do them? What can I do?
Yeah, great question. This is Eric, right? So the first thing that you can do is not worry, right? Because right now, colleges and admissions offices are truly thinking about you and your access to the SAT and to various other exams. So don't worry that that is not a part of your application. As Zach described, when a college says that they are test optional, they are truly test optional and don't require the tests. Anything to add, Zach?
Yeah, I would also add that we are going to look at the context of your high school, meaning if your high school doesn't offer IB or AP, you shouldn't feel like you need to go out of your way to try and take an AP or IB. Go ahead and just excel in what your high school provides to you, and that's what we will read you in. We're not going to compare your application directly to someone in an IB program because you're in different environments and you have different opportunities. So that would be my concern, or my advice there is don't be as concerned about that. Do the best in your environment, whatever that's going to look like, and that's what we're looking for.
Great. I want to ask Laura's question in the chat first, because I think that that's a good one to just like set the stage. Laura asked, when do college applications begin and when should I start applying? Thank you for asking this question. And sorry that we weren't very clear with our response or our kind of framing of this. Most US universities their students enroll and start university in August or September. And the deadline to apply for that entry time is usually January of the same year, right? So if you are hoping to start university at WashU in August of 2021, in 8 months or so, your application was due at the beginning of January. So the next time to apply is for starting in August of 2022. Does that answer that question, I hope?
In terms of timeline, thank you both, because those are very good points. In terms of timelines, for example, if you want to start your undergraduate degree right after you finish your segundo de bachillerato for the Spanish students, it would be ideal to start at the beginning of the first trimester of primero de bachillerato. That is for starting to look into options, starting to see what schools you are interested in, and then your application would be due in the first trimester of segundo de bachillerato. That is 1 year before, so to speak, the beginning of your studies in the US. That would be a little bit the timeline in terms of our bachillerato periods here in Spain. And also thank you both Victor and Zach for your points on the different curriculums that the universities in the US accept, because that's a question we get a lot. People is concerned, I'm doing the Spanish curriculum, are they going to accept that? Like Victor and Zach said, please keep in mind that you're going to be evaluated in the context of your school.
Absolutely.
Then we have another question. What should the essays be about? Will they dramatically change from school to school?
Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
I would say I'll take this one. One of the other key pieces that we probably could have talked about a little bit more is the actual applications that you can use to apply to the United States universities. The main one is called the Common Application. And so that is kind of the base application that you can use. You only fill it out once and you can send it to Notre Dame. You can send it to Washington University in St. Louis. You can send it to, I think, more than 400 colleges around the United States. In that, you will fill it out once. there will be one kind of main essay. That essay doesn't have to change. Now, if you're looking at applying to a school like WashU or Notre Dame, we do sometimes ask that you write supplementary essays. They'll be a little bit shorter, but they'll be a little bit more targeted. And those should be a little bit more geared toward whatever school you're applying to. But the main essay that you write, I think it's about 650 words, that one doesn't have to change. And we understand that you can use that same essay to apply to every school. So just keep that in mind when you're writing it. It doesn't need to be specific. And then once you are applying to a school that wants you to write a supplementary essay, for example, we always have a version of a question of why do you want to attend Notre Dame as one of our questions. That should probably be a little bit more specific about you, what your passions, how they align with the university, things of that nature. But the main Common App essay does not need to change.
We have questions also about the SAT. So since the essay test has been removed from the SAT, should I still take it this year? Marcos asks.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Marcos, great question. I'm sorry I didn't understand it at first, but yes, the essay section of the SAT has been, they just announced that, I think, that they're going to remove that completely. I think part of the reason why they removed it is because many colleges weren't really looking at it. So you don't have to, especially if it costs more. I don't think that it does, but especially if it costs more, don't worry about that. You don't have to. You don't have to do the essay portion.
As we've mentioned, you're going to write essays for us, so we're going to see your writing ability. And those essays are way more important than a score on the SAT. So I would say you also don't have to take it either.
Yeah. And can I comment really quickly, Sandra, on English proficiency testing, because that is important for the for students studying outside the US. Most universities will require some form of English proficiency testing, be it the TOEFL, the Duolingo English test, or the IELTS. And so you should look on university websites to see if that is required. Generally it is, and I am going to give a big pitch to the Duolingo English test, because you can take that at home, and it is significantly cheaper than the TOEFL, and we consider it exactly the same.
I also wanted to mention, since we have Zach and Victor for a limited time, I'm afraid, questions, for example, regarding documentation. We are getting a few questions about translations, etc. Please feel free to contact us directly, Education USA. You have a contact form on our website, because those are questions that we can easily solve, so that we actually make the most of having Victor and Zach here with us today. So, for example, Lucia is also asking us specifically about financial aid in WashU, and I was wondering, Victor, if she maybe can email you directly?
She can, but can I also make a quick note about this, because I wasn't clear, and Lucia's question was, if you're interested in a school, early decision, right? And you think about that binding agreement, but you aren't sure about financial aid and what you'll receive. First of all, know that whatever financial aid you would receive in regular decision is what you would receive in early decision at schools like Notre Dame and WashU. So it shouldn't, it shouldn't prevent you from applying early. The other thing, and this happens very rarely, but if the financial aid is not, if it's not sufficient, if it will not work for your family, we will not force you to attend. We will release you from that binding agreement. Okay.
Great, thank you. Also, Nicolas was asking about financial aid, if it would be possible to apply in a single college to both financial aid and scholarships.
That kind of depends on the college. Usually financial aid is done through forms that require your family income and financial circumstances, whereas scholarships sometimes are more applications where you're talking about your qualifications, your academics, and your extracurricular activities and your leadership.
Yeah, but it is very possible that you could receive financial aid for your family situation and also receive a scholarship for your merit or your
Exactly.
activities and academic excellence. You can receive both. You do not have to have one or the other. And many students at Notre Dame will both coming from international.
We are also getting some questions specific to your universities. So would you like to jump into the next part of the presentation so that you can both talk a little bit more about your institution?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that that we were going to end. Is it 6:30 p.m. your time?
We are fine with time, but we don't want to take more time from you guys. So depending on how you're feeling.
Zach, if you're okay, I think that I would be happy to do 6 minutes each, and then any last questions.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
I will absolutely go first. I will
go ahead.
Share. Well, I'll get my PowerPoint back up.